among the issues that have been identified by the G20 presidency is this sustainable food future. And I think they are right, at least in the sense that we are having still 8 million people which is undernourished, and other forms of malnutrition are still there. And therefore, G20 leaders need to worry about this issue and how to make the food system sustainable for the longer term. And with this, I'm meaning looking at the issue also with new eyes, linking a bit with the idea that was brought this morning of finding a narrative, building a narrative in terms of how these food security issues have to be not only managed in creating the jobs, creating the income for people to access that, but also changing the way we produce, changing the way the whole food system works. Because in the recent decade, the way production of agricultural and food has been evolving is not so much focused on the use of additional inputs anymore. The environmental constraints impede us to bring more land, to bring more water, to bring more energy, to bring more inputs, and we need to think about combining them in a better way. That's what we call increases in total factor productivity, and this requires a changing the way we look at the problem and pushing for a really flexible way of responding to this big challenge. The solution have to come, of course, for building this narrative, but also from the facts of what governments do. G20 is a set of governments. They include OECD, developed countries, and developing countries, and it seems, according to what the OECD is measuring in terms of the policies, that these policies are somehow converging over time. But are they converging with this narrative, with these goals that we are identifying in terms of productivity, in terms of sustainability, in terms of resilience? I think there is a mismatch between the goals and the policies, and the OECD has estimated that the governments are spending about 500 billion euros in supporting the agricultural sector, and most of it doesn't go to create the environment, the services that provide or facilitate the adjustment, the innovation that is required. And only 5% of all those goes directly to innovation, research and development in agriculture. There is a need to make a big policy shift in this direction. And G20 has the opportunity it's a good environment in order to provide and to push for this policy shift. And the second one is understanding that there is a lot in this new way the food system is working. The OECD has measured how the global value chains work, and a lot of the products that are traded, the food that is traded, a lot of it is about 40% is not coming directly from the farm. It's coming from the industries, coming from the services, coming from other countries. This share of the value added is very often services and very often technology that comes into it. This opens enormous opportunities for this kind of innovative process, and the governments need to embrace these technologies with policies that create incentives to adopt those technologies at the farm, at the industry and trading level to facilitate trade, but also at the government level, because the government could also embrace these technologies to do better policies, legislation and regulations that are better targeted to the specific needs in the environment of specific locations, to monitor also how these environmental regulations or environmental issues and concerns are done, and to provide the appropriate public goods and services that are required for this innovation process. I've been only a few hours now because I arrived very late yesterday due to also a plane delay. But my impression is that it's a very good opportunity in order to share points of view in a very relaxed manner, coming from very different perspectives, breaking the silos, and in terms of the disciplines, but also in terms of the background of the people coming from business, coming from policy, coming from international organizations, think tanks and business as well. So I think that's the big opportunity, because new ideas can come sometimes from this kind of exchange that is free and is not constrained.